There she is, Miss Podcast. That's right. You're listening to the longest running podcast in the world. No podcast has ever made it to 200 episodes before, but this podcast did it. The pod people.
Don't look that up. Just trust us.
Oh, yeah, you can trust us.
We're pod experts.
We're experts, and
200 episodes.
After all, we are the longest running podcast.
We are.
Yes.
That's a fact.
I'm Matisse Van Rossum, and I didn't come up with a name for this one. I forgot.
It's episode 200. We gotta do something, bud.
I know.
It's a special occasion for our listeners. We gotta do quick. Quote the movie. Do something.
Get away from her, you bitch.
You bench? Is that what you said?
Bench.
There we go. Okay, well, that's something. There we go.
Stay frosty. I'm Ben Cheats.
Damn. All right. Well, hello. I'm Cleveland Mosier, and sometimes people mistake me for a man. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm doing great.
I'm fantastic.
It's
200 episodes.
200 episodes.
Can you believe
We
it?
did it.
They said it couldn't be done.
Fuck them.
They said we could never make it to 200 episodes.
Yeah.
But we did it.
We're here.
And not only did we make it to 200 episodes, but we made it to 200 episodes in 2022, the twoest year of them all.
Can't get more two than that.
The year of the squeakquel, in which we're talking about sequels and squeakquels. We did another one for episode 200. We did the sequel to the film we talked about on our 100th episode, which was Ridley Scott's Alien. So we thought it was only right to spend this 200th episode talking about the 1986 masterpiece, Aliens, by James Cameron.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. I think we nailed it. I think we did it, boys.
We nailed it in 200.
We nailed it in 200. Took us 200 episodes to nail it, but we finally did.
But we finally did it.
We finally did it. Let me open up my White Claw of celebration real quick. Let me just... There we go. All right.
If there's one thing James Cameron is a master of, it's the sequel.
Honestly.
He knows how to do a goddamn sequel between Terminator 2 and Aliens.
And now, supposedly this year, we're finally getting Avatar 2.
Yeah, so maybe.
the most anticipated sequel of all time.
Wait, did James Cameron, did he direct the first Terminator? I forget.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did both Terminators.
Okay, cool. So there's a chance.
I mean, the first Terminator is also great.
Yeah, but the first Avatar, though, that's the real question. It's, the Space Pocahontas is what it is. It's got some fun ideas in it, but it also has some weird and kind of silly ideas in it.
It's mostly weird and silly.
Mostly silly ideas, yeah.
He's gonna take the alien of Avatar and go to the aliens of Avatar, if you know what I mean. He's gonna go full on balls to the wall, epic action horror masterpiece with it.
I fucking hope so. Well, 23 years before he made Avatar, he made this. The perfect sequel to the perfect movie. This is truly the epitome of how you make a sequel to a movie that is perfect.
Yep.
You
cross into a different genre.
Yeah, you cross into a different genre and you say, I can do this, but bigger and more action-y.
Yep.
And he did.
Much like Texas Chainsaw 2, this is just another perfect example of how you actually do more but better. I think a big secret here, much like in Texas Chainsaw 2, is you change the tone. It's still space horror, it's still dark, it keeps its core, but it uses it to talk about something entirely different. And it works so well for it. Instead it's a squad film. Instead there are many more themes of parenthood. I love all of those new elements, and because they're done so fucking well. Wow. Yeah, what a film.
Well, yeah, because, how do you follow up the original Alien? You can't just do the same thing over again because it was already done perfectly the first time.
Yeah.
I remember not too long ago seeing a story going around that I'm not sure if it's apocryphal or not. Supposedly, when James Cameron was pitching this movie in the boardroom of execs, he went to a whiteboard and wrote Alien on the whiteboard and then put an S and put 2 lines through it to make it a dollar sign.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I really hope that it's true.
That checks out.
I really hope that it's true.
Well, it's, James Cameron is sort of like a proto, like Michael Bay or one of the other big action like film directors, but with just a few more brain cells kicking around upstairs. Just enough brain cells.
With better ideas.
With
Yeah.
way better ideas, yeah. But still, like the executive qualities to pull off that kind of financial feat as well. Because let's be very real. Like this movie is a financial feat.
Well, that's the thing.
On top of that, it's not even just like an auteurship. Like
I would say he's less of a proto Michael Bay and more of like the kind of framework for all of these later directors to kind of work off of, because he built an empire of huge budget movies that always killed it at the box office, and almost always they were unique and different, paving their own lane, so to speak.
They literally found the wreckage of the Titanic so he could make Titanic.
Yeah.
That's how that movie came to be, is because James Cameron's like, I'm going to go find the Titanic and then make a movie about it. And he did.
incredible.
Fucking absolutely insane. He's a man obsessed.
Yeah.
I think it just goes to show that he's been fucking working on more Avatar movies basically nonstop since 2009, and there's supposed to be like 4 more of them.
And I mean,
we'll see how that
goddamn,
pays off.
if he's putting that much effort into the new Avatar, how insane is that movie gonna be?
It's gonna
like
be great.
honestly, like 10 plus years of focused madness.
I think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be really bad, but it's going to be like...
It's going to be entertaining.
It's going to be an incredible spectacle.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be an incredible spectacle.
It's just much like the first Avatar. Is it going to be a spectacle I feel the need to go back and watch again?
No.
Who knows?
See, I'll go see it once in the theater and then
Be like, wow, man, that sure was a lot of cool like CG sequences. All right, neat. Never need to watch it again. I kind of... What if it's good?
What if it's good though?
What if it's good?
good?
Like I'm open to it, and I doubt it. I'm with you. I think you're right. I think it's going to be exactly that. But what if it wasn't? What if it was like the best thing I've ever seen? What if it's R-rated?
What if it's just aliens again? What if they got everybody back? They're all old now.
And it's just, he doesn't explain it. Like it's set in the alien world and everything. It's just called Avatar 2. There you go.
Just with everybody.
That sounds awful, actually. Like
Sigourney Weaver was in Avatar. So
she was.
We don't know that they're not the same cinematic universe, even though she plays a different character. We don't know. There's no way to know. Avatar could be set in the alien universe.
That would be amazing, honestly, if just a xenomorph plopped down on Pandora.
game over, man. Game
What
over.
and the blue cat people tried to braid fuck it?
Oh, now we're talking.
They also have tail whips.
Yeah. Be like a tail battle.
No, they don't. They just have long heads, and then but they also have tails. So would they try to braid with the head or the tail? I don't want to think about
The
this.
little mouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst blowjobs in the world.
Someone's definitely drawn that online. I'm not going to look it up.
Did you guys know that in the version of Avatar that's streaming on Amazon Prime, which is pretty much, I think, the only place you can stream it now, they have cut out the braid fucking scene?
Revisionism.
Fucking,
What?
yeah.
Why? I mean, it's a dumb scene, but like, why would you cut it?
Because they're cowards.
I mean, honestly,
They are
though.
cowards. But also it sets kind of like a dangerous precedent that like in the age of streaming where like nobody owns physical media anymore, that like streaming services that buy the licenses or that acquire the licenses to like stream movies on their platforms can edit them how they choose.
Yeah,
That's not great.
That's really not. But like let's look into that, right? Like, why? Honestly, what did they? What's awful too is they don't have to give a reason. But like, did they? Like, what's the reason for cutting
I
it
don't
out? Because
know.
like, it's a really like fundamental part of the film. Like, as dumb and
Because-
goofy as it is, like,
because
I'm not
it's
like we
fucking-
want to fight for it, but
Because it's fucking weird and kind of
okay.
like,
Movies can be weird. What's the problem?
I agree with you. I'm just trying to like parse their reasoning. It is by far the fucking strangest decision in the whole movie. It made everybody uncomfortable, and it's one of the things that everybody makes fun of about the movie.
Which is why you should keep it in.
Agreed.
Yeah.
In every
But I think
way.
these are all reasons why I can see them being like, nah.
Well, I mean, it's just another example of why physical media is important.
It's still important.
Yeah. If you really like a movie, buy it. They can't change your, your owned copy. But, circling back to aliens here, I think what's really interesting about going from one to the other, like we were saying, changing tones, but really, like, you're changing, like, the core of what makes aliens work. In the first one, it's all about horror and isolation, right? And you have these isolated spaces, you're shrouded in darkness. In Aliens, you kind of flip that, right? Like, you aren't isolated at all. You're in you're with a team of Marines.
Right.
Everything is lit pretty well. Like, you're on an abandoned terraforming base, but the electricity is still on. It isn't completely shrouded in darkness.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just that you're overwhelmed, not isolated.
Exactly.
But overswept. So it is the opposite in that sense, and I love that about it. I've heard it said before that the alien in the first one is treated as like the ultimate predator, and it still is in this, but it's sort of taken on even more attributes of roaches, like the way that there's so many of them like scattered around.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see in this one that they, are hive creatures. There's a queen, there's a hive, they sort of have a shared consciousness or intelligence or whatever they are, like bugs. And I mean, in the first one, part of the reason that the creature is so dangerous is because, one, not only do they not know anything about it, but also they're like space truckers. They don't have any weapons. They have the flamethrower, but when you have this huge sprawling ship with this unknown monstrous creature that can travel through the air ducts and, is basically has abilities that you don't really understand, like, you're severely outclassed. In this one, Ripley goes in with a squad of colonial marines who have big fucking guns and grenades and flamethrowers and cowboy attitudes.
Yeah, and they still underestimate
Totally. Well,
the xenomorphs.
That's one of my favorite things about this movie is that, like, the whole first hour is basically, like, hyping up how badass the Marines are. There's all of these fucking extended gearing up montages. They're all fucking talking themselves up, slapping each other on the back, high-fiving a gay amount, and they have skull and crossbones drawn on their armor and their helmets.
It might as well be like the space Punisher symbol.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're it's very they do sort of like a Vietnam style thing. Like, every soldier has like their little trophies, and like they've written different things on their helmets and stuff like that, and it's just like all of this build up of them being like, oh yeah, no problem, this is just a bug hunt. Bill Paxton even says they're the ultimate badasses. And then they go in and they're completely useless.
Yep.
They're completely unprepared for the threat that awaits them on the planet, and they end up being totally ineffectual and get their shit handed to them.
I like the first sign, which is when they're in the bird as they're heading down to the colony, doing basically like a drop landing, like a drop zone landing. Someone says to the lieutenant, like, LT, how many times have you done a drop like this? And he's like, 50 something times.
38
times in the simulations. How many times in real life? 2. counting this one.
Counting this one.
It's like, uh-oh.
Going with a green lieutenant.
Oh, your
Yeah.
lieutenant, is green. That's not good. War games don't count. Like, uh-oh. And next thing you know, like, it shows off in the worst ways. Like, his incompetence is, I think, largely what gets a lot of them killed. I mean, it's incompetence all the way up and down.
His incompetence and their overconfidence.
Yeah, Wayland Yutani's overconfidence, and, it goes on.
Well, and of course, Wayland Yutani's ulterior motive that we already know from the first Alien.
Yeah.
They want to get the organism back so they can study it and use it as a weapon. So I love how fucking Ripley tells Paul Reiser, she's like, I'm only gonna go if you say that you're not gonna try to bring any of them back, that you're going there to exterminate them. He's like, of course, I promise. And then just like as soon as they get there, he's like, now hold on a second. How do we know that we have the right to exterminate this new species? They need to be studied. It's like, Ripley, you fool. Why would you believe him when he said that they weren't going to do that?
What I like is that when she calls him on the holophone, which I really like because he leaves her his card. And, like normally it would stop there and then she'd ring him up on the machine or whatever. But she actually uses the card to call him. Like she plugs it into the machine and it calls him on the video phone, which is neat. I really like that touch.
I love the retro future tech.
It's
in
great.
These movies.
So cool.
It's such a cool aesthetic.
Yeah, like big shout out to like Alien Isolation too for like carrying that on. But she punches it and she calls him, but you can see it in her face like when he says that. Like she doesn't really believe him, but she knows that like she's going to have more agency in this scenario. Or at least I think that she knows she's going to have more agency in this scenario.
Yeah,
if she goes,
doesn't really
she knows
him.
that there's like colonies of families on that. Like
she goes out of a sense of responsibility.
Yeah, her family is gone. Like she even says like under her breath, like earlier on, like there are families there. Like it's like very clear that like that's what's important to her because her own daughter has been, like was taken from her by time, because I'm not sure if we mentioned, but after the events of the first Alien, when she's drifting off on her little pod ship, she's laid adrift for like 57 years.
She's in hypersleep for 57 years before they find her. So a lot has changed. Her daughter has grown up and died. They have built a terraforming colony on the planet where they found the crashed ship in the first one and found the alien egg.
I absolutely loved the scene where they find her. It's the first scene of the movie.
Yes.
It has this kind of robot kind of scanning the ship and area, and it's like really foggy and hazy, and
just like this
the
absurdly
blue
large
laser.
robot.
Yeah.
The blue laser cutting through the fog looks so good.
It looks amazing.
I get like a whole movie of just that aesthetic alone is like enough for me, and it's just like it's just a quick thing. It looks. I mean, every fucking frame of this movie is just delicious to look at.
Alien has like one of my absolute favorite aesthetics in like science fiction in general. Like it's just so fucking cool and good to look at. Like the sort of industrial retro future tech, and then you've got the H.R. Giger like alien organic like hive designs. There's just so much good shit to look at in these movies.
Oh, yeah. Well, they all feel real. They have guts because once again there's the retro future aesthetic. So it's not flat screens, it's fat screens. And it's all very tangible and tactile and bulky. And on top of that, the sets are actually built largely from stripped down airplane parts. So they look like they have utility because they did. They, were fuselages. They were, various like heating and cooling components for like large scale industrial military machinery. It looks fucking awesome because it's a real thing. You can touch it. And you believe that every one of those pipes going somewhere does something because in real life it has. It's served a very functional purpose, as opposed to so many other sci-fi like series that I think they get that wrong. Like it's like everything's encasing. Not necessarily wrong. Like the clean aesthetic looks wonderful too. I love like the clean aesthetic in a lot of films, but like actually utilizing those parts makes a huge difference. And for the same reason, the Mad Max films are great. And it's why Fury Road is still fucking awesome because they kept up with that with modern like treatments digitally as on top of that. You gotta have both. The best Star Wars movies are like of recent times are the ones that still utilize the models for the spaceship battles. Like it's the shit you can reach out and feel and touch and believe. Like
and
that's what takes you there.
And even if it might not like look perfectly seamless, it still is so much better than just like dead soulless CG. You know, even if there's those little things where I'm like, that doesn't look super great, but still it's like, you know, somebody worked really hard like on that physical prop. And I mean, this movie is just like a fucking feast in terms of models and matte paintings and animatronics.
Those xenomorphs have definitely leveled up from Ridley Scott's to this one.
Even still, even with that level up, which I do agree with, but like even with that, they're very, very, very careful with their shots. There aren't many sequences that last longer than a couple of seconds. Or even more than a second when we're talking about the aliens specifically. Whenever the aliens are crawling around, we don't see them for very long because you know that they had individual suits built for various purposes. If they're crawling through vents, those are different alien suits than the ones where they're running. Those are different alien suits because they have to use like a different type of like principal effects for it. Whether it's puppetry, body suits, you name it, at different angles and different types of lighting, like because the alien's body is so stringy and long, like you have to marry puppetry with physical suits. And it never gives you that opportunity. It's very, very meticulous to make sure that spell is never broken. And it's a hard spell not to break. And there are plenty of movies that don't even bother with it that are also great. I mean, Predator is probably, I think, the best example. We talked about that pretty extensively on that episode. But here, they really take those extra steps to never let that spell break. And it was one of the reasons why I was kind of like disappointed with that movie that came out, like I think it was like 2014 or so, The Void, because there's a couple of sequences where like you can see the puppetry, you can see the puppeteers, and it's like you have to like be conscious of your editing to get that stuff. But I understand like that movie was like Kickstarter funded. It's not the same. It's almost not fair to it. But
it's not James Cameron.
No, and it's not like, and The Void has some really cool stuff on it. So I don't want to just shit on The Void. It is a really great movie, and I'd still recommend it. But like, if we're comparing like what makes the greatest the great, and that's it, and also that's budget too. Like this movie had so much more money than The Void ever did.
I was noticing too when we were watching the credits at the end of the movie that like the VFX team is not huge. It's like a couple dozen people, you know, which like isn't insignificant, but just the kind of shit that like a couple dozen like very skilled people are able to accomplish with like good budget. And I just think of like so many. You know, we always fucking go back to it, but I mean, it's the zeitgeist, like Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, where at the end you watch the credits and it's like 300 fucking like CG artists that technically do a good job, but just create something that is so soulless compared to what is on display in a movie like this, made by like 1% of the people. You know?
It can be. I think I don't want to just like wholeheartedly like shit on CG like entirely either. I think like this is a great time for it. Don't get me wrong, and I don't entirely disagree.
But it's a specific type of CG and a specific type of movie is more what I think.
I think the underlying point there is, you know, a 24-person team was able to pull this off because they had a focused vision of what they were going to do with it. Yeah. Unlike a 300-person team where like that vision can easily get muddied with all these different people putting their own input into it. Yeah. And eventually you kind of lose that kind of focused vision, and it becomes kind of soulless.
And people
almost.
working on a very small fraction
Yeah.
of something that they don't necessarily know
Yeah.
how it fits
The
in.
left hand ends up not knowing what the right
That's
hand is
thing
doing.
With James
Yeah.
Cameron that I've always heard is he's very meticulous, and he knows what every single person on set is doing and what they should be doing and what he wants from them. I've heard stories about him on the Titanic set telling the production design team that he needs a specific, sort of table or chair or something like that.
How has it taken him fucking 12 years to make Avatar 2? It's like
Exactly.
it is that meticulous obsession, and love his movies or hate them. I have mixed feelings about his filmography, but like he is a kind of filmmaker unlike any other. I think they don't make filmmakers like James Cameron anymore.
I think Kubrick is similar in that respect.
Yeah, totally.
And in Hitchcock to some degree as well. Like Hitchcock was very meticulous. He was often bored of movies by the time they were filming because he was so meticulous about his scripts. And it's why I have such a deep respect for artists that have, and directors in particular, that have that level of attention to detail. And
I feel like
all these people,
all these people we've listed to have been like notoriously difficult
to work with. Right. Well, and see, like, no, but it's true. But like, for instance, like in my own experience, like on My Friendly Neighborhood, right? Like John Szymanski is a very specifically minded person in the similar capacity. He's a very friendly guy, like, which we definitely want to make sure I'm adding that in. He's not an asshole like Kubrick or whatever. Like he's a family guy. He's really sweet. He's a really kind person, but he's very specific. But he's thank you. But he's very specific in his vision, and like I have to like sometimes remind the people on the team. It's like, hey, we cut the trailer, but like John had like a page of notes or so, and it's like, yeah, he did. Follow them all. He's gonna be right. And it's that same idea where it's like, well, like a lot of other people would just say, cool, it's good enough and move on. But it always is the sign of like that greatness. And of course, like My Friendly Neighborhood is doing extremely well, like in the wish lists and all the rest of it. Like I'm really looking forward to that game. It's going to be fucking incredible. And I see that same kind of thing in people. I have the fortune, sorry to talk about myself for a minute over the film, but I have that luxury right now of working at a studio that is like a smaller scale, that isn't being overburdened by massive teams where people don't know what they're doing. They're designing a garbage can, but they don't really know what they're designing the CG garbage can for. But here we don't have to worry about that, and I love it. You know what's the perfect example of like a left hand not knowing is that apparently the voice actors in Bethesda games, like Fallout 4, for instance, don't actually know what game they're voice acting for when they get the lines.
Also,
like I've heard this. This is alleged. I don't know if this is 100% certain, but like from what I heard, that the guy who voices Kellogg, one of the main characters, like the antagonists in Fallout 4, never knew he was voicing a character in Fallout when he read his lines. Wild if true. And like it makes sense to me because like the lines are really dry and they don't have like I feel like if an actor knew that they were in a Fallout game, they would like go and like read Dick Tracy, they would go and like watch radio show or listen to radio shows and get that 50s feeling. But the characters don't have that in those games, and I think it's largely because of that.
Well,
it's interesting.
I remember, right, like, they don't even give them the other person's lines that they're communicating with, so they just get their own lines.
Well,
completely out of context,
more so than that, I know for Oblivion, I don't know if they've changed this since then, but in Oblivion, all of the voice actors read their lines alphabetically. So they weren't even reading the lines in the same scenes. They just had the list of all of their lines alphabetically and went through them from A to Z.
And to be clear too, I fucking love those games still. Like I played all of Fallout 4. Like I still adore it, and for those all of the great things in there. It's also some of the best creature designs I've ever seen. But what there are things that there's certain things that are lost
Oblivion
at that scale.
dialogue is a meme at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
hello,
it's terrible. It's like when you hear that they recorded their lines alphabetically, it's like, oh yeah, that makes
of course they
total
did.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Like, how else do you get such completely stilted, flat performances? Because the actors, the poor voice actors who were doing them, didn't even know what scenes they were doing. They were just given a list of lines to read. Like, how
that point, just do text.
Yeah. Seriously,
Right?
at that point, like, why bother with voice acting to begin with?
Yeah, that's what we're doing with Dread Delusion. I think it's a good call on that front. But I love voice acting, and it's great in the right games. But in that circumstance, on that scale, it's like, I don't even know at that point. But
when you're Bethesda, you can afford to do better.
That's right.
But anyway.
Supposedly. Yeah, it depends. But no, I think just the moral of my rant is that you can get that same thing in 3D as well. You know, like I was just working with people today, like 3D artists today on some really cool assets in a game. You can still have that feeling, but it is harder to retain, it's harder to hold on to, and it's best when it's married, right? It's best when it's paired with the tangible. When you still take that extra mile, and it's easy to not do that in 3D. It's easy to kind of sidestep that process, but you got to get out there and you got to get your hands in the dirt on that stuff, and you have to take those extra steps to make things tactile. Prometheus is a great example of that. Prometheus has a really damn near perfect marriage of 3D, like of CG and practicals. I love the look of that film. I hate some of the writing, but like like some weird decisions. But it looks awesome. That said, there's a sequence in this movie where the dropship crashes and they're all running from it. And I think I said it while the movie was playing, but they use a lot more analog components. Like we were talking about, there's one shot.
It's rear screen projection.
Yeah, one of the shots definitely is. Yeah, where they're like running behind the scenery.
It looks too clean to be composited. So I think they just set up a projector screen and just rear projected it.
Yeah.
For the shot where it's like rolling towards them and they're like running to get behind like rocks and stuff. It looks great.
Well,
it's so well done.
What's cool is like rear screen projection is coming back around, and now it's like the advancements they've made in it recently are enough to make it the forefront again. Like the effects in like the Mandalorian series look unbelievably good. Like the lighting is just fucking spectacular in that show because they invented like a new like circular screen system where they can shoot on these like set locations, like with like this rear screen projection that is not only seamless, but also they can edit it in Unreal Engine in real time, which is so cool. Like that's a really neat process. So like the directors in like real time can say, hey, let's pivot this ship over so that the cinematography is better. And it's like being able to move sets with your fucking mind. And all of it is going to be reacting on the characters' like metal armor and like looking so good. So it's come back around. I think that rear screen projection is sort of like once again an advancement. But my reason for bringing that up specifically is that I think that I got a lot more out of that sequence and the chaos and the franticness, and I felt and concerned for the characters. Even knowing like how the strings are being pulled on the puppet show, you still feel more for them than like when the giant CG Promethean ship is falling in Prometheus. Like, because she's running from the ship, and it's kind of a similar moment, right, in the franchise where like there's a falling spaceship and there's rubble, and she's having to run from it. And it's the entire giant ass Promethean ship, and here it's the one helicarrier, and I felt so much more concerned for the characters because I felt it. I was nervous about all the parts flying at me because they were real metal parts.
The characters in this are moving sideways too. They're running sideways.
They're not just running in a straight line away from it.
they're acting smart. Yeah, what is it? That dumb YouTube series? How did they put it? The Prometheus School of Running Away from Things. Where you just run in a straight line from a falling object. Yeah, from like a long falling object. It's like just run to the right.
I will say this movie also really does a great job of doing the classic ensemble thing where they set up each character with like some sort of minor unique trait to kind of ground them as they get picked off one by one.
It doesn't take much either. It's like, I don't need to know these characters' whole backstories. Well, just like naturally give them all a little bit of flavor, something that makes them unique.
That's the thing. It's like 2.5 hours, this movie. Yeah. And it flies by, A, but B, like, you have plenty of time to give backstory, but you don't because you focus on what's important, and that's the actual, story that's unfolding.
And you learn what you need to about the characters organically from how they behave in the situation. It's like...
To me, it's the equivalent of like Sumi-E painting. Okay, this is a weird metaphor, but trust me on
What
this one.
else is new?
Right. Here I go again. But in Sumi-E, like I've seen artists like sit down and like paint like an entire goddamn sparrow perfectly with one brushstroke. Right? Like it's a really cool art, and it's about like just doing it in one pass. You know, like you dip your brush in the ink and you just in one movement like paint this like really intricate thing. And it feels like that to me. Like it's this moment of like the character building is just this really like it's short, it's quick, it's just with one brushstroke, and it's so fucking precise. Like it's so well thought out. Like let's look at what's her name with the red bandana.
Vasquez.
Let's look at Vasquez, right? Like all of her lines are so fucking good. They hit like right to the bone, and they just tell you exactly who she is, what she's had to deal with all of her life, how she's overcome it, etc., and like make you immediately root for her. Like Vasquez is such a good character, right? Like the guy comes up to her, like one of the Marines comes up to her and he says like, help me out here.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
Yeah, because she's like doing like fucking pull-ups and like just like fucking working out like after getting out of cryostasis. Yeah. She's ready to fucking fight. She's like more like fucking ripped than like half these dudes. And yeah, so the guy comes over and says, yeah, like you ever been mistaken for a man? She says, I don't know, have you? Fucking awesome. Just immediately emasculate the dude and just keep on like going forward. I love that shit. It's so fucking badass.
Yeah. They do a really great job building her up too. Like in general in the movie, like when Ripley is talking about what happened on the Nostromo, she interrupts to say, you know, where is it and when can I kill it?
Yeah, it's
only
like,
one thing I need to know, or what two things I need to know. Where is it, you know, and when can I kill it?
Yeah, I think they really build her up well. And there's that awesome little bit, I don't know, it's so tertiary that she almost has like a relationship with another Marine.
Yeah, with like the other heavy weapons specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they fucking dap each other up at, like every time one of them says something, pretty much. But yeah, it's like you're not sure. It's like, are they like a couple, kind of? You know, it's funny because like Vasquez is a woman, obviously, but they have like those two have like this weird, almost homoerotic sort of
they're just two
relationship.
bros.
They're just like two bros who are in love with each other. You know,
I'm trying to find that in my life. You know, like that's what I'm looking for sure. I love that shit, and it's cool that like the military like it's the future, so they're co-ed, you know, like but they don't like make a Star Trek show of it. They try and like paint like a much more real picture of what that might look like.
Yeah, and
it's cool. Like I love that about it. I don't feel like I'm just being preached to. It's the same thing. It's like it's that problem that I had with the Expanse series, where like they cast Bobby as like this kind of like skinny like actress, and it's like if they'd gotten someone like Vasquez, I would have bought it, you know, or like Brienne in Game of Thrones. Like that's like the character in the Expanse books is like has to be like fucking heavy. One, because they're a Martian, so they grew up in like a lower gravity, and two, they're operating a fucking mech suit. Like they're ripped. They're fucking supposed to be like physically powerful, and I just didn't buy that from the actor they got, like, because they wanted them to be like conventionally pretty.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they try and like play the fucking like, oh, aren't we like fucking progressive card? And it's like, no, fuck you. This is what progressive looks like. You know, like the like Vasquez looks like she could take on any of those dudes because she can.
Yeah. Well, I love her. You know, fraternal brotherhood, let's say, with the guy she keeps dapping up. Because later, you know, when shit hits the fan, he gets acid to the face, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really dramatic moment, and she's really broken up about it. And I thought that was a really great way to pull that full circle.
Well, she kind of does it. She feels guilty, too, because she kind of does it to him, because he's like... He's like holding off the aliens that are coming down one hallway, and one sort of like comes up behind him as they're getting into the like tank, and she shoots it, and by shooting
to protect him,
it splashes blood all over him, and he like dissolves.
Yeah.
So she blames herself as well, and like that makes it even harder. Which it reminds me too, the first death in this movie from the Marines. I guess there's the Colonials' deaths and whatnot beforehand, but the first death in the squad is friendly fire. And I'd forgotten that.
Well, it's perfect. They go in so fucking, like cocksure. They're total fucking cowboys.
They do not stay frosty.
No, not at all. Well, that's
they say stay frosty a lot. They do not stay frosty.
No. As soon as the shit even like just starts to hit the fan, their discipline falls apart immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Well, it's such a perfect storm too. Like it doesn't feel like a comedy of errors. Like it feels like just everyone just making the wrong calls.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
particularly the lieutenant,
because they go into the hive, which is underneath the terraforming thing, and they realize when they're down there that like they're like armor piercing bullets. Like if they shoot down there, they'll like rupture the cooling system,
cause a meltdown in the facility,
cause a nuclear meltdown of the terraforming
like 35
facility.
megatons. I think they say.
So they're in like this like weird slimy alien hive, and they're like seeing all of these corpses cocooned up on the wall with their chests torn open and shit. And then all of a sudden the lieutenant's like,
guys,
you can, so you actually can't use your guns down there. Sarge, can you collect everybody's magazines? Flamethrowers only. And it's like, what the fuck? Are you kidding?
What if like they did that in an Alien video game where like you get all excited, you're ready to play the video game and get down there and shoot some aliens, and then like your gun is disabled.
It's just like, nah.
You can't shoot. That's what a real Aliens Colonial Marines game would be like, and it wouldn't be very fun.
But the fact too that rather than that, like he makes them give up their magazines and still sends them in, rather than being like,
that's when you pull your guys out and you need
pull out. Like if you don't have weapons, like why are you down there? But of course they still haven't encountered the xenomorphs yet, so they don't really know what they're in store for, because of course nobody listens to Ripley, who
once again
knows what she's talking about. She's the expert in the situation.
Once again,
they didn't believe the science.
That's right, they didn't believe the science.
They didn't believe the science.
It's once again, it's like in the first movie,
Dr.
like
Fauci.
Ripley over here is trying to observe quarantine, and no one listens to her.
And they bring Kane back on the ship,
which is the moment where you know that she is the hero.
Yeah,
and here it's like we already know, but she makes like her abilities known. And it's cool because it's all organic.
I mean, she's the only one who keeps shit from falling apart completely in this movie. Like after this, she's the one who holds it all together.
Yeah, and there's so much here that like stops her from being. I hate even like using the term because of like all the shitty Star Wars fans that like co-opted it. But like
she's not a Mary Sue.
But she isn't. But it's true, and I do think it's worth breaking into a little bit. That why does it work for Ripley? And I love using Ripley as an example for obvious reasons. But the reason is pretty simple. Every time she speaks from a point of authority or like knows what she's doing or whatever, it's organic. She's an engineer. Like that's her background, like as a space trucker and whatnot. So the fact that she can operate the forklift mech makes sense. She's a space trucker. They use those things for unloading and unloading. Of course, you would have a permit for that.
She gets her officer's license taken from her by the company. So in the meantime, she's working on the docks at the space station operating the mech lifts. Yep. So it's like, they mention that. They're like, when Burke comes to her, he's like, I heard you've been working down at the docks moving cargo. It's like, okay, so when she hops into the robo mech loader later and works it perfectly, makes sense. She knows how to do that. She's trained to do that.
And they don't stop there. They still show it to us, which I like also. They didn't like a lesser movie would have like just kind of had that as some dialogue in the background or not said anything, and it would have just been like, she's a woman, she can do it. Go her.
They wouldn't have said anything. She just would have
like,
hopped in and known how to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, well no, it's like she is, and that's awesome. Go her, like for sure. Because of like plot reasons, like it's well written, And I adore that. I think it's so cool, and you get to enjoy it right alongside her character. And I think it's a little silly that the guys are kind of like, whoa, like she can operate this thing we see operated every day. But I do really love. It's fun regardless. They're kind of reacting for the audience, and it's great. Like, and I think Ben, you said it well. One of the best instances of like Chekhov's gun ever, setting up the mech lift.
Yeah, Chekhov's robot.
That's right. Yeah, Chekhov's robot.
What I love about Ripley too is that like she is like quick and savvy enough to like make the kinds of decisions that need to be made in these scenarios to like help keep people alive, at least for a little while. But it's like she's not immune to fear from the situation that she's in, which I think makes it's a nice, really believable balance. Like, she's a badass, but she's not dumb, you know. She's still afraid. Like, when Burke like lets the face huggers loose in the med bay while she and Newt are sleeping, you know, to try to get them impregnated. And like they're sort of like up against the glass, like looking around the room, and Newt says, "I'm scared." Ripley says, "Yeah, me too." And she looks scared. It's like, yeah, because this is fucking scary. Like, she's smart, and you know, she's bold, and obviously runs into the melting down reactor at the end to save Newt. Like, she's not a coward, but she's not dumb enough to not be afraid of the scary aliens. And that makes them still feel scary. There's nothing that deflates a monster more than a protagonist who's not afraid of it, you know?
And I think what's at the heart of what makes Ripley work in terms of that is her relationship with Newt, right? Like, because she has something to lose, it makes it all the more tangible. And I love her losing her own daughter, who was about 10 or 11 at the
who
time.
was about Newt's age.
Yeah.
I love how organically that all is set up, you know?
Yeah.
She comes back missing her daughter and finds a new daughter who needs her, and, you know, steps into that position of motherhood and putting herself in danger for her child.
Yeah,
and
it makes the character way more dynamic.
Not only that, but she does it by fighting a giant mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just motherhood all around.
Mom fight. At the
Mom
end.
fight.
Yeah.
Big old mom fight. And yeah, she fights the ultimate Disney princess, the alien queen.
I hate that that's a thing.
I love that. Why do you hate that that's a thing? It's great.
Because Disney's bad.
Disney is bad, which is why it's funny that it's funny to call the alien queen like a Disney princess.
Yeah.
And break all the conventions of what it means to be a Disney princess. Anyone can be a Disney princess, including the alien queen. I'm trying to be inclusive here.
I mean, you're not wrong, but that is overshadowed by the fact that Disney is the one who holds the rights to Alien.
Yeah.
And the IP.
Yeah, no, that is a hot bummer.
That's what makes it a bummer.
God damn it. Yeah, Alien, yeah, Disney owns Alien, Amazon owns Lord of the Rings. I hate everything. Not entirely.
No, Amazon doesn't. Amazon owns the rights just to the Lord of the Rings, not to the Hobbit or the Silmarillion. They own the rights to the Lord of the Rings and its appendices.
Yeah, so the new series, I guess, isn't going to be about the Silmarillion.
Nope,
Fucking
because they
wild.
didn't have the rights to that.
Fucking wild. That's so awful. I tend to not wish ill will on, like, TV show productions or film productions or whatever, because I work in the industry. But and again, I understand there's a lot of other people working on this projects that have nothing to do with that. They're just trying to make a buck, you know, and live. I respect all of that.
Those people are getting paid regardless of how successfully the thing is received. I will happily wish ill upon shows that are the projects of media monopolies like Amazon.
Yeah,
I'll happily wish ill on those.
The issue that comes into play for me is just that I think that Amazon, like one of the largest and like wealthiest corporations on planet Earth, representing like such an anti-industrialist like narrative, is vile. And
it's almost
hope,
like they don't give a shit
I hope
about
the series
that.
bombs.
It's almost like they only care about money.
And it sucks. And I just want to go back to being a hobbit and just I don't like it. I don't want to.
But you know what? On the subject of like Disney owning the rights to Alien and whatnot, like I don't feel like the Alien franchise has a lot of like sanctity to it necessarily at this point. Like obviously the first two are masterpieces in different ways, but like they haven't really done a good one since Aliens. Yeah. I like Prometheus and Alien Covenant well enough, but they're
Resurrection is underrated. It's
Resurrection.
Not great.
Resurrection is fun.
I like Resurrection too.
Resurrection is fun.
Nowhere near.
Nowhere
We can all agree on that.
It's
I think hot dogs taste good too, but it's not like fucking filet mignon. Like it's not, or whatever other fancy foods.
Honestly, I think
it's just not the same.
I think the piece of media that does the legacy.
Good meat.
I think the piece of media that carries the legacy of these first two movies better than anything else is something you mentioned earlier, Cleveland, Alien Isolation,
yes.
The game. And I don't even think that's perfect, but like they at least get the atmosphere. And
what I'll say, what I've seen of Fireteam Elite, like play it, I'd love to hear your own opinions of it, but I hung out with my buddies while they were playing it a lot, and for work, like they were doing some journalist stuff on it, and it looked really faithful to me, and it looked great and fun to play, like and it seemed to capture the spirit of this movie really well. Minus, the joke I made earlier about, like your gun's not working because the lieutenant, is, not making a good call fast enough. But the game goes through like all of like the cool like quintessential sets, and you always go back to like that hangar bay, and it's the same one where the loading docks are and stuff, and you can change out all your gear to look more like one of the other commandos, and you go through like the Promethean realms and shit, and it looks cool. It looks fun. I don't know. I need to play it myself and get my actual hands on it, but I did see a decent amount with my friends, and I thought it was cool that like there is a game that kind of carried that on, even though apparently it didn't do very well. A lot of people didn't really take to it, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a shame because it looked really neat to me.
I've heard it's quite buggy. I've not played it myself, but
that's a bummer.
I would really like to, just for the gritty satisfaction of mowing down some gross bugs, at least for a little while.
But if you're not a game person, or even if you are, and you're looking for even more weird alien stuff to kind of see like where the torch is carried off to, go watch Raised by Wolves. It has a lot of problems. It's very Prometheus.
Go watch this thing. It's not good.
No. It rules, and a lot of the problems are really good. I'm never going to have a better opportunity to talk about Raised by Wolves. I'll keep it short.
You've already talked about it on the podcast before.
Well, I'm doing it again.
Okay.
Sorry, I've had a couple White Claws. I'm trying to remember. But the thing... when that show is on, it is fucking awesome, and it has some concepts that are really like truly deeply horrifying. I've had to like stop after an episode and just kind of like sit and think from time to time about some of the concepts that they cover, particularly in respect to AI, and like how they act. It's like the actors involved on that show are not in any way the problems that I have with it. Like they're really competent, and they show like the horrors of like what a rogue AI can be like, but also the good as well. And but when it's bad, it's funny. It's really like comedically cheesy and just goofy decisions that are like purely heady and don't make any sense. But oh man, conceptually there's some really cool things about it. But anyway, I'm rambling. Go watch more of that if you want to see like what Ridley Scott has sort of like gotten his hands in, on that, because he's a producer, but he has a pretty decent amount of like control on that project. Like there's a lot of behind the scenes with him like on set, basically acting as director.
Well, going off of that, in terms of AI, let's talk about how great Lance Hendrickson is.
Yes.
Oh,
as the AI in this movie.
Hashtag not all AI. He's one of the good ones.
Truly.
Yeah.
You know, they have that twist in the first one
where Ash turns out to be, well, first of all, they don't know that he's an android, but also that he has orders to make sure the creature makes it back crew expendable and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so in this one, when Ripley finds out that Bishop is an android, she freaks out because justifiably she's a little racist, a little robo-racist. She's a little robo-racist.
Robo-cist?
I like how Bishop plays that scene off because like Burke mentions like what model Ash was or whatever, and Bishop's just like, oh, that makes sense, that model always was a little buggy, you know. So it's like, but don't worry, like in the 57 years that you've been asleep, like the technology has improved a lot. Like I actually like I'm physically incapable of hurting, you know, a person or whatever, which is great because we're introduced to him playing five-finger fillet with a knife on an unwilling Bill Paxton, who's another fantastic character in this movie.
Bill Paxton is just a one of a kind in this movie. So many quotable lines.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Paxton's always the best. We talked about Near Dark not that long ago, and this movie shares a lot of the same actors with Near Dark: Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein, Bill Paxton. I just love how same yet different Bill Paxton's character is in this to Near Dark. Like there's the same level of like cockiness and bravado, but also like when the shit hits the fan, he turns into like a total coward.
Yeah.
Just absolutely loses his shit.
What I like is that he's still like somewhat functioning. He's just trying to like talk his way out of everything.
Yeah.
But like when the aliens do like attack again at the end, like once he gets over his shit, he does pick up a gun and like keep shooting them,
he's still
which is cool. Like it's believable.
He's still a Marine, you know. But you know, after that first encounter, his whole ultimate badasses bravado is just gone. It's like we're fucked.
Yeah. Well, it's that show of like people who often like project that kind of macho energy, or often like the first, you know, like are often actually it's they're projecting out of insecurity. Yeah, and it shows so well in this character, and I love that.
I love the scene where they're regrouping and they weld shut the blast door, right? And they're checking on the radar. And the radar is such a good motif in this movie, with it just beeping, and they can see kind of general location of heat signatures as they come closer. And they see all these dots coming closer to them, even past the blast door.
Yeah.
And they realize they're actually above them
in the ceiling.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite shots in the movie, when he opens up the vent and you just see all of them in the darkness crawling.
It's incredible.
It's so fucking spooky. And you really do forget that they're people in suits. Like you don't think about it for a minute. Like they're just like horrible space roaches, and there's so many of them. And like you only can see like 3 in the shot, but the darkness implies that they're like who knows, dozens, hundreds behind them.
Well, not just that, but the motion tracker, we can see how many of them there are. You know, so we know there's that many. And this is after, you know, they've set up these sort of like killing corridors with sentry guns that have shot themselves dry. They've run out of ammo because there's so many of these things.
They just keep coming.
I love that because like we see very little of like the aliens like actually like coming down the corridor and like getting shot. It's just like we hear the guns in the distance, and they're watching the ammo counters like go down on the computers. So like we know what's happening, but we don't really see it.
It's all left to the imagination.
Just like for them, they can't see what's going on, you know? Like they're checking the cameras, but there's too much smoke and like the muzzle flashes from the guns and the darkness, like you can't make out anything. It's so effective. Also in just like not having to have 80 people in xenomorph suits running down a hallway.
You don't need that. Yeah, there's never like honestly, do y'all ever feel like there's a need to show like hundreds of them at once?
Not at all. No.
Right? Can modern fucking movies just like take a note for a second?
I feel like the most
like because you feel like there's you feel like it's crawling with them, and you only ever see like 3 at a time.
3, maybe 4 at most on screen.
All you need is the dots
couple of times
on the tracker, and your imagination fills in the rest. And my imagination, like no CG can compete with that shit. You know, it's so much scarier.
Well, what's fascinating is the first film almost follows the Jaws rule, where they really don't show the xenomorph much at all, and when they do, it's just bits and pieces, or just rushing by very quickly. This movie almost does the opposite, where it continually shows xenomorphs. However, it knows how to effectively place those sequences, where like you don't have to show hundreds of them in like a big
CG swarm scene like the end of like the third Matrix movie or something. You never need to do that. Well, like you know that like if this movie was made today, it would be like that's how they would do it. There would be you'd get that shot where like a pipe opens and just they keep crawling out of it, and there's like millions, and they're crawling all over the walls, and it's all kind of smooth. Like that like that's how they would do it.
They did
now.
that in Alien versus Predator,
exactly, and which
is a bad movie,
exactly. And like it's so much better. Like you only need like 3 and just light it properly, which is not an easy feat, mind you. Like it's not easy, like this suggestion, but like it's just so much scarier, man. Like let my imagination just run free, and it does, and it's like I feel like I need to take a shower after this movie, like because it's so gooey and nasty and roachy. Like their acid blood, like it's not just wet, it's like there's a roach gut quality to it, like it's got that kind of
viscous.
It's viscous. It's oily. It's awful. It really is fucking wretched.
Yeah.
Because
everything in related to the xenomorphs is so fucking slimy. The hive sets are great. Seeing the people all like cocooned up on the walls is horrifying. Because like we know that they build these hives and these cocoons by excreting some kind of like resinous slime that hardens, but where do they secrete it from? What is that bodily process? We don't know, and whatever I can imagine is way more horrifying than what they could show.
Yep.
It's like they've like bees have constructed these like big vast hives by like vomiting up goo and letting it harden.
And where did that goo come from? People
probably.
Yeah, it's people goo, which is even worse. Like, I mean, because it's a bioproduct, and the only like biological product for the most part, like in that colony, is people.
Yeah.
Like, so like you have to really think that like the walls are people.
It's people.
It's all people.
Soylent Green is people.
That's right. Soylent Green is people, and it's so nasty and so scary and gross. I love it. I absolutely love it.
The reveal of the queen in this movie is handled so well.
Oh, the best.
Her just like stumbling and she finds Newt, frees her, and stumbles into this room that's just like full of eggs, and like looks up and sees like some big
ovipositor
like laying an egg, and it follows it. The camera follows it up along like just this huge like white slimy egg sack.
Yeah, overpositively terrifying.
Yeah, it's so gross.
Yeah. Motherhood.
Up to the alien queen, and then how she kind of like unfolds and like her face sort of like comes out of her head, and then you see she's got 4 arms instead of 2. It's
because like that one shot of like her in silhouette, like with the full body before she moves, with the light, like she's backlit in the fog, and it's clearly a giant puppet. Like, it's so good. It's so cool
that they built that fully animatronic bitch. Like that is we see so much of that in the last like 20 minutes of this movie. The alien queen animatronic is just incredible.
Yeah, it always looks good.
It always looks good.
Well, that's what's so neat is like, you know, they're so sparing with the like there's so many shots of the aliens, but they're always from like, you know, like different angles, serving different purposes. Like they are sparing.
They went all out on the
all
queen.
out. Every angle like is shown off with this giant creature.
So many points of articulation, so many moving pieces. We see it doing so many things. It runs, you know, it all of its arms move.
Mm-hmm.
The face.
The piston mouth.
It's
the inner tongue mouth.
Yeah, the piston mouth, the tail, and it's paired with like some of the most seamless like stop motion like you'll ever see. You know, like like really spectacularly like seamless stuff. And again, like this is all against like these perfect matte paintings. There are like 3 shots in the movie where like the compositing is kind of clear, where they're flying the ship into the facility. You can see like the outline around the ships. But
there's one kind of composited shot when she's first using the
earlier on,
the robo thing earlier on.
Yeah,
it's not great.
But you know, like that's a product of the technology at the time. And
it's a 40-year-old movie.
Yeah, and for 3 shots with where you can kind of see the compositing, like for me too, like I personally when I see that, like I get a little excited because like I know how it's made.
Yeah,
and like it brings me a lot of joy. Like sometimes seeing the strings is fun.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think that's a good example of that. But what is rarely noticeable is the matte paintings themselves. The compositing into the matte paintings, like 3 times maybe, but like the majority of the other times where the compositing is really smooth. Like it is, for the most part, the compositing is like fucking great in this movie. But especially considering the time. But the scenes themselves, which are hand drawn, you can't tell because they're Syd Mead. And I wanted to bring this up because I saw it in the credits, and it's just like once again, there's just like a couple of people in the industry like since the 80s who can do work like that. There's only a couple, and Syd Mead is one of the greats. I can see you guys kind of like, you know, getting comfortable again because I'm about to do a thing, but it's one that's worth doing. Syd Mead, I'll keep it quick, but Syd Mead did the matte paintings for Blade Runner originally, as well as Tron, as well as the new Blade Runner as well before he died, which is really cool. And many, many other phenomenal films, but he really was the best in the industry. And it's just so cool. I'll never get tired of seeing his work. Go look it up. Like, it's some of the coolest matte paintings you'll ever see. No one could do sci-fi realism like Syd Mead. No one ever will. Like, he really is like, as someone who like studied classical art and painting, like I have no trouble holding him to the same regard as any of the old masters, like fucking Leonardo and all the rest. Like, I put Syd Mead right up along the rest of them. That realism is unbelievable, and it's all done by hand. Like, none of the hangar bays with all of the girders and moving parts and everything, like someone fucking drew that with their hands, dude. Like, with their hands, with traditional media, like not even
that
digitally.
First shot of the hangar bay, is just like, it's an incredible painting.
And imagine so like good. Devoting yourself to something with the intent of making people take it for granted.
Yeah,
like people, you just assume that it's a set, that they just like found like this hangar bay and built it, and it's like, no, like that's hand drawn, and you can't tell. It's fucking seamless. Like what a master of his craft. And I just I can't gush about him enough.
With like really well built miniatures, and I love that like some of the vehicles are remote control vehicles that they've put in, like some miniatures with like a nice matte painting behind it, like the crawler vehicle that like the Newt's family is driving at the beginning that finds the ship. That's definitely like a little RV thing, which is great. It's just a combination of like so many like masterful skills and techniques combined to create like a really wonderful whole. Yeah.
The most wonderful
whole.
You love to see it.
We love a wonderful hole, don't we, folks?
Speaking of wonderful holes, let's talk about how the alien queen gets thrown down one.
Oh yeah, she gets thrown down a big hole out into space.
That was a great segue.
Thank you. So of course we get our the quintessential "get away from her, you bitch" line from Sigourney, which is just I love that delivery so much. I get excited every time. Like, really one of the best examples of giving the audience what they want in a movie ever. Like, that fight scene is just so fucking cool. But
Two mean moms duking it out
in a hangar bay. Yeah, so cool. Just two alien queens.
Love that they just have her throw the alien queen out the airlock again. Nice sort of parallel back to the first one. Can't kill it easily, so just throw it out the fucking airlock. Let space do the work.
Yeah, in space, no one can hear you scream, and guess what? That rule does not exclusively apply to humans. Like,
That's right.
Throw that fucker into space.
Yep.
Space is the ultimate decider, and it always will be. And I love that. You know, like, it's at the end of the day, like no one adjudicates like space. Like, the final judgment will be decided when you're hurled out the fucking airlock. Fuck you.
I think it's really funny during that scene. Ripley is caught on the ladder while she pulls the switch to open it, and she's hanging from this ladder.
The alien queen is just grabbing onto her ankle, like dangling out into space. It's like, that would just rip Ripley's entire leg off.
So yeah, we see it like. It introduces, like, it enters the scene by goring Bishop and then ripping him in half with those same arms. But what I will say is I'm willing to let it slide because, like, she falls on it with the mech, and it's like, it's damaged his arms.
Sure.
Like, they're like the tendons aren't all like fucking working.
I'm just thinking
whatever.
I'm just thinking like the weight of the queen itself being yanked out into space would rip Ripley's leg off.
I like it because it is sort of foreshadowed earlier in the movie when Newt falls down the shaft and she tries to grab Newt. She grabs onto her sleeve, and Newt falls through the coat. And then we see it again when the alien is holding onto her, and she lets go via, like, she slips off her shoe. And so there's sort of again, there's a parallel there. There's a repeat, and it's really nice. I like that a lot. They play up the theme.
The thing that I always found funny in that scene is Ripley is able to pull herself up by her arms.
Yeah, she's then able to climb
she has
up.
Like ungodly upper arm strength to work against this airlock.
Yeah, the vacuum of space.
That's fun. I like so much. I really like everything to do with Newt and Ripley also. I find like that whole role very compelling. I think that the kid does an incredible job.
I don't think she's a very good actress.
You don't think so?
It doesn't bother me too much, but especially like when she has a great scream, but she never looks scared when she's screaming.
Interesting.
I think that the flatness of her delivery works for a good chunk of the film, like when Ripley first finds her, because she's kind of like traumatized.
Yeah.
So having the sort of like flat, toneless delivery works. But I think that's more of like, it just happened to work conveniently, not that the girl was doing a good job. I think that was just I think that's just,
she's well used.
She's well used. She's well utilized. I don't think she's a very good actress.
Yeah, well,
I do think like when she screams, her face is just kind of like blank. Like it doesn't look like she's actually afraid.
Oh, see, I was kind of saw that as like disassociating. Like,
maybe
because we see her do that like earlier, and we see Sigourney Weaver do that as well. Like,
but I feel like you're projecting that onto her. I don't feel like it's like she did
possibly,
a good job.
But like, I don't know. Like we see earlier on, like Sigourney Weaver, like when she's like first come out of cryo and she's trying to get a grip on everything. There's that shot of her like just staring as she's like got the cigarette that's like ashed all the way up to the end.
Yeah, but
like
when
she's like just like totally like disassociating.
Yeah, but when she's scared and she screams, she looks afraid.
Interesting. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But Newt sure does have a very loud, piercing scream.
Yeah,
you get to hear plenty of.
It is true, and she screams a lot. This is true. But I felt I really believed when like Ripley needs to protect her.
Their stuff is sweet. I think like Sigourney Weaver absolutely does the heavy lifting.
Of course.
In that, I mean, you know, she's an adult and she's a very good actress. So, you know, she makes that work in spite of the kids' pretty flat performance. I think it speaks well to like how good that stuff is, like how compelling their relationship is, even though the kid's not a great actor.
Yeah.
I think that is it's really well handled, and it's nice that Ripley finds a new daughter.
Yeah. What's not nice is spoilers for Alien 3.
We're never going to cover it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you mind if we now... Spoilers for Alien 3, like, it starts with her landing on the prison colony planet, and Newt is dead in the pod. I have a lot of problems with Alien 3. I don't hold them against David Fincher because...
I've heard that that's because they couldn't get the actress back and they didn't want to recast, so they just killed her.
Yeah.
That they wanted to have Newt be a bigger part of that movie, but they couldn't get... Well, also it was like years later, so the girl had like aged.
Yeah.
Because I think Alien 3 came out in what, like 92, 93, something like that.
Then you don't do that plot line because it doesn't work. Because to me, like just
that
killing
movie has so many problems.
It strips Ripley of like so much of her power, her achievement. It strips so much away, and also just like. I think that like killing kids in movies is like you have to be kind of careful about it. But I'm generally pro doing it. Like it's like go murder children. Like it works. But like you have to be really careful and surgical about it. You know, like shit. This movie kills loads of kids, right? Like mostly off screen. But like even if it was on
entirely off screen,
But like you see like the kids all over the colony. You see that like kids are not safe. Like clearly they can be casualties too. A lot of the goo on the walls is probably children.
I mean, killing Newt at the beginning of Alien 3 it's
cynical.
It's cynical, and it undoes the entire point of Aliens.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, it's far from the only problem with Alien 3. Like that movie just should not have been made, and if it had to be, they should have done a completely different story.
Which David Fincher, in fairness, did try to do. It was going to be a wildly different film.
Speaking of kids in this movie, though, they had that fun Shining reference in this one.
Yes.
With the little...
Another Kubrick comparison.
Yeah, a little bike when he's biking down at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, as a kid tricycling around.
Big wheel. Mm-hmm. They have a nice little tracking shot for a second there.
Little space wheel.
I thought that was a fun little nod.
I agree.
I think there was a Close Encounters of the Third Kind reference as well. I don't remember what year that came out, but it was before this. I'm
quite before.
Fairly certain.
Yeah.
But
Close Encounters of the Third Kind is, I think, late 70s.
I think so too. Yeah, I think it's like 78, 79, something like that. But you know, that's a movie about aliens and being abducted by aliens, and in this movie when they take away all of the Marines' bullets when they're in the hive, one of them, Hicks, I think, reaches into like his backpack and pulls out like a sawed-off shotgun. He's like, I keep this on me for close encounters.
I love that. Keep that thing on me.
Yeah, keep that thing on me.
Yeah, that's right. He does. And it gets good use as well. You know, another Chekhov's shotgun, literally. Chekhov's gun. And that's nice. Of course, it sprays acid everywhere when he does use it. It doesn't go down so well, but yeah, I love that too. Like when the ammo is like taken away from all the guys, like you just see every single one of them like find an alternative. Like they're all like, no, I'm gonna live. I choose life. Doesn't work, but you know, at least they try.
Yeah,
I liked that. But it's also cool because it serves like that decision to take away their ammo like serves so many purposes. It highlights the uselessness of Weyland-Yutani. It heightens the tension of the scene. It adds challenge, and also it gives them an excuse to move straight to the flamethrowers. So it's just a win-win-win-win, like as choices go. if you're gonna take away the Space Marines like cool guns, put something else cool in their hands, and it does a flamethrower.
And I mean, they get their cool guns back later
Immediately.
once they get out of there.
Like very quickly.
It really just serves as like the final nail in the coffin for like that operation.
Yep.
It's like they're already going in way too hot-headed and cocky, but now you're also taking away their guns. Like they're about
I can't
to
take away our guns. God damn.
taking away their guns. What are they, liberals?
Yeah, this movie really is just a testament to the Second Amendment, you know?
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Guns
We got
rights,
political.
Guns rights are people's rights.
Happy 200th anniversary, everybody.
It only took us.
did it.
It only took us 200 episodes.
We're here. We're political now. We're a political podcast. We've done all the movies.
Well, I mean, shall we do the formality of rating? I mean,
Why not?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, 5.
This is a 5.
Well, you know, no movie is perfect, so I think I'm going to give this one a 4.5. No, I'm kidding. It's a 5. Of course it's a 5.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's obvious.
Jesus Christ, how could I not? Oh, my gosh.
I don't think anybody's surprised by that one. I think we all went in knowing where this was going to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I feel like there's still so much to talk about in this movie. We've really only scratched the surface.
Go
but
watch
also,
it.
like,
Go watch it yourself.
everybody's seen this, and it's not like we're bringing any new observations to the table. It's a fucking incredible movie. I'm really glad we had a chance to watch it and talk about it on
Yeah.
the podcast.
Exactly.
Next week, womp womp to bring the mood down.
Oh, no.
Morbius drinking a 40 in a death basket.
We're doing Morbius.
It's finally,
I don't know why I sound excited. I'm
we
not.
thought the day would never come.
We're going into the Letoverse.
I didn't think that this was a real movie. I thought
no.
it was just a trailer they made to launder money. But nope. Morbius is real and it's here. And we're gonna go see it.
We decided to. We could choose not to do this.
No,
but
it's
for
too
you,
late. It's too late.
This is your fault, dear listener.
It's too late. So yeah,
This is on you.
Morbius is
We're doing
next
this
week.
for you.
Do you have results?
I do have
for
results
X?
for X. So
Ben, give it to us.
okay, so for our collective rating, I predicted 4.2, TC predicted 4, and Cleve, you predicted 3.5. If I remember correctly,
I
it
think
was
you're
exactly
spot on.
4.2.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
4.2.
Look at that.
I'm
glad I was wrong.
Double check
Love that
Rotten
movie.
Tomatoes really quick.
Over the past week, I've remained as keen on that film. Again, it's not that long, but
Great movie.
yeah,
Great movie.
it is washed over well with me. I still feel quite good about that film. It really did capture the heat of Texas Chainsaw the same way that only the first one ever really did.
Okay, so in terms of Rotten Tomatoes, I predicted 72, TC predicted 71, and Cleve, you predicted 75.
Well,
I think Cleveland might have gotten this one.
Right now, it's sitting at a 96.
Yo!
On
That
Rotten
is
Tomatoes.
great.
Awesome! I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I'm glad it's doing
Near
well.
unanimous.
I'm really glad that movie's doing well.
Me too.
That's good.
You know,
Excellent.
a little bit of foolishness on our part. We were talking about Ty West having already shot the prequel to this Pearl. Apparently there was just a trailer for it at the end of the credits, and we left before the end of the credits.
Oh
like
my
the
God.
one fucking time we almost always stay through to the end of the credits.
I really
but
need
for
to pee.
I think it's because
Same.
you had to pee. So we left before the end of the credits. I saw it. I saw a cam video of it on Twitter today of somebody stuck to the end of the credits, and yeah, there's just a trailer for Pearl at the end of the credits.
What
of X.
incarnation?
And it did answer a couple of the questions we had. One, no, it is not in black and white. 2, yes, she's been a murderer since 1918.
Oh, no.
And 3, an unasked question that they answered for us in the trailer. The same alligator from X has been around since 1918. Apparently.
Okay, that kind of
Okay,
rules.
that rules.
Yeah, that's kind of great.
Corny,
Corny, but awesome. All right.
Fuck, I need to see this trailer now.
Yeah,
I'm
sure,
gonna have to
same.
look for it on Twitter.
Honestly.
Okay, so box office opening
Oh,
weekend.
that's right. I forgot we did box office too.
I predicted 26 million. TC predicted 25. Cleavview predicted 13. Did an opening weekend of 4.4 million.
Wow, that's so low.
Yeah.
That's so low. It wasn't competing with any other horror movies. That's actually really surprising
Yeah,
to
but
me.
it was also competing against the Batman.
Yeah, that tracks.
So
Everyone's going to see the Batman.
I think A24 was happy with 4.4 million. So,
Yeah, I
considering they're getting another movie out of the deals, I'm
Yep.
sure they're happy.
They already have one in the can. All right. Well, speaking of cans,
Like the film festival?
yes, that one.
All right, here we go.
Saving that for next week.
This week is sponsored by He. That's it. He brought this episode upon us, and he says that you should go out and buy things. Go buy things. And when someone asks you, why are you buying thing, you say, he told me to. And that's all you need to know. Who's he?
He.
He.
He is he.
The he. There's only one. Not he. That's laughing. That's different. This is just he. He brought this to you. Happy 200th anniversary, everybody.
Happy 200th anniversary.
Here's
It's not an anniversary, but 200th episode. Happy. Yeah, well, hot damn. We did it.
Guess anniversaries are annual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We already have our anniversary every October, but this is a special one because it was our 200th episode and Epiversary. Wow.
Shout out to every single one of you listeners.
Yes.
Thank you for keeping us here, earnestly.
Especially
appreciate you.
especially if you've been around since the beginning, but even if you haven't, those episodes are always there so you can go back and listen to them. 200 is a lot of episodes of us sitting around rambling about movies like we're some kind of authority or something, which we're not. But thank you. We really appreciate it. If you want to show your love for the pod, leave us a 5-star rating and a nice review on Apple Podcasts. You can also support us on Patreon if you so choose. But if not, that's okay. None of our 200 episodes are paywalled. So
But we
you can
sure do
always-
love the support.
We do love
Yeah.
and appreciate you if you choose to support us in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow us on Twitter at PodPeoplePod and at letterboxd.com/PodPeoplePod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. And you'll find all of our unanimously perfect rated films, our golden pods. Aliens is just the latest in that list of
Long list.
it's a pretty good list. It's
pretty good.
We're almost up
Pretty
to
good.
30 something.
That's pretty long. It's a lot of movies.
For 200 episodes. Yeah. Sometimes we've done more than one film per episode. But anyway,
Rarely these days.
you can follow me on Twitter at SomeSpookySnake.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Sheets.
And I'm occasionally tweeting for Light Arc Studios. We put out progress on It Stares Back. You know the drill. Go check out It Stares Back. We're on Steam. You can also check out my work on dreadxp.com, amongst all of the cool video games. I'm working on a few of those. And you can also see the store has merch. If you want to buy a super fucking cool Sucker for Love poster or t-shirt or spookware poster or DreadX collection poster, there's all sorts of cool things. I've got one of the posters myself. I had to test out the merch, before we put it out to you lovely people, and it looks fucking sick. I am so happy to have that shit on my wall. Like, the print quality is really good. It's really nice, like Hansen, like museum quality paper. Oh, it's so good. And it's like non-reflective too. Really nice. Anyway, I'm sounding like a shill. I really do love it. Like it's great stuff. We're also going to be at PAX East, so get excited for that if you're in the Boston area.
Hopefully
In
this
April.
doesn't come out. Oh, okay, it's in April.
You got time.
Never mind.
Yeah, this will be out well before that.
Oh yes, go check it out. I will be there. You can meet me in person.
Well, thank you again for listening. Thank you for helping us get to 200 episodes. And This episode of the pod may be over, but it's never game over, man.